You're watching BATV, bringing Brookline home.
Welcome to the Dispatch. I am your friendly neighborhood Solipsist. My name is Mike Phelan O'Toole. And once again, welcome to the show, providing an alternative to your television viewing. Here we are. It's just me kicking it with you. We're in the studio. We're in the midst of cyberspace here. We're floating through your television screen. In the spirit of media convergence, you can check us out not only here on your television channel, but also on the World Wide Web, of course. We'll go into that more in a little bit. But anyway, just wanted to share my excitement for being back with you. Thank you for enduring me. Thank you for indulging me. And not changing the channel. You're sitting there, maybe it's early in the morning, maybe it's late at night. Who knows? It could be any time. What is time, really? We kind of just made that up, didn't we? But anyway, you're sitting there, you've got your TV on, the remote control in your hand. You love to be in control, don't you? You got your remote control. So you're there, potato chip crumbs falling from your face, and you're like, what is this? This guy is just really engaging and so handsome. What is this show? What am I watching? Well, you're about to find out. Find out. I always sound Canadian. Anyway, so what we're doing here is it's the old Solipsist Dispatch, and you can find episodes, like I said earlier, in the spirit of media convergence. You know, we did the DTV thing, digital television signal, and all that stuff. In the spirit of, you know, you got your BlackBerry, your Crackberry, whatever you call it, your smartphone. You have it, and you can access any sort of information and entertainment on the fly, right at the push of a button. Literally, it's the future. The future is now, folks. We are the future. I am the future. Welcome to the future. And you can check us out. You can, you know, not only now, in the spirit of all that crazy cool stuff, all the tech stuff, you can not only check this show out on your TV screen like you're doing right now, maybe, You can also check us out like that, or you can check us out on the World Wide Web. The BATV studios are supporting us. We got, if you go to batv.org, you can check out episodes of this show, or also other cool shows like the other show I'm involved with, my buddy's show, Random Acts, and you can check that out. You can check out the old Solipsist Dispatch. All kinds of crazy cool stuff on there. You can check me out on the internet. My other, you know, to get the whole smorgasbord of all my projects as a videographer, as a monologuist, spoken word guy, what have you. You can check me out on the internet at mikeotoole.net. And there's also a mirror URL. It's MikePhelanO'Toole.com. But MikeOtoole.net is the one I'm really pushing for you because it's easy, simple. Just boom, MikeOtoole.net. I'm Mike O'Toole. You're on the internet. You want to find me? Go to MikeOtoole.net. Easy as pie, as they say. So you can check out all my projects on there. Whether it's monologue stuff, improv, comedy stuff, all sorts of cool stuff on there. Videos for you, all sorts of stuff. Anyway, bam. Back to prime time. What are we doing today? Well, as you guys know probably if you follow me, if you've listened to me, whether it's a podcast, a TV show, whatever it is, or see me on stage at the old Improv Boston Comedy Theater in Central Square, Cambridge, wherever you're checking it out. I always, before to kind of take it down a notch here. I want to say, before I got into performance stuff, it was always about behind-the-scenes stuff. And the way I got into that, learned about the tech stuff, was through cable access television, this cool medium you're checking out right now. You know, and cable access sort of gets a poor rep, I guess, for low production values and stuff. But not everybody is really cool and suave like us to have really cool backdrops and really cool shit going on. Oops, I said shit. Can't say shit. Anyway. But not everybody is so wise to that. But we here at Solipsist Dispatch, we try to keep you engaged and cool. And so this is, anyway, community television, you know. Cool. It's a communication medium. You create your stuff and you fling it out there into the community. People get to check it out on TV. And so, for me, even when it's just me here, like sometimes I've had guests on here, but for the most part, it's just me kicking it, doing the monologue thing, talking at you like this. It's this cool little time capsule thing. You record and then you fling it out there. And so, you know, questions, comments, whatever, you know, hit me up on the website or, you know, email. It's mikeovideo@gmail.com and all that stuff. So anyway, what am I going to get into? What am I to document? Because yeah, I like to do the entertainment thing. I have my eye on the whole showbiz thing, but you know, at the heart of it, communication and documentation. So, well, let's see. I am trying to just kind of nail down what it is that why I'm drawn to this whole thing, and there's just kind of an intensity to it. There's when you're on, you know, and I'm not somebody who's really on all the time. You find folks who are like that, or you find folks who just motor mouth all the time, talk your ear off. You start to bleed from the ear. You want to cut off your own ear, do the Van Gogh thing, mail it off. What happened? I lost my ear, man, because they don't stop talking. You know, in daily life. So, for me, I think I need that. I need like the iPod or the MP3 player, something to drown out that noise. But I've been doing a couple of different things, trying to keep a journal going, record down thoughts in the spirit of documenting stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I've been drawn to doing these, being on like this and all that stuff just over the years, kind of getting more comfortable with it because it's important, you know. It's important to me somehow. With the whole YouTube thing, people are like, I'm just going to record some, you know, shaky, crappy thing and fling it out onto the internet. And I just always had a mind for learning about the bigger aspects of production. And, you know, I'm a film guy. I love movies and all that stuff. And there's just like this epic nature to it for some reason. I mean, granted, you know, being born in the 80s and all that stuff, and even subsequent, you know, prior decades, we've just been, the media has been kind of bombarded on us, this whole pop culture media thing. And so I guess I'm a product of that, you know, product of the times, so to speak. But I like to think I'm a little less complacent than a lot of folks, especially a lot of young folks, you know, because I'm trying to create something and learn about something, keep growing and creating and putting stuff out there, and trying to get other artists and you know, tech folks in on the whole deal. And you know, it's always cool. The past several weeks, I've been coming into Brookline Cable, and we've had students who are learning about directing. We've had them coming in, and you know, get to learn about what they got going on, and they get to hear my deal, listen to my storytelling and rambling on, and all that stuff. And it's been a lot of fun. Same thing with improv. When I finally got into improv, it's like you get infiltrated into this little circle of this little community where you're like, wow, this is like this its own little family, and you just realize like the intensity of the stage is just incredible to me, especially when you have a group of other individuals and you're all kind of coming together and building something. Because what happens to me, you know, when I'm off stage, I'm doing, you know, whatever else, and I get into the isolation thing where it's like just me, and don't get me wrong, I am a loner in some ways, and I love being alone, and chilling with my own thoughts and stuff, and bombing around, and that stuff's great. But that's kind of where the whole solipsism, you know, thing comes from, because I get into this thing where it's like just me, you know, and when I'm out and kicking it with other people, and you see, hey, there are other creative folks who see, like, if you say this weird thing or do this weird thing, it's not a weird thing, it's a cool thing, it's an interesting thing, it's something that, you know, you throw it in the pot and it'll all vibe together. So that's been the interesting thing with improv, because like everybody that I met there, everybody's got some sort of a story in terms of background in performance, or if they don't, if they're just kind of starting out, you're like, well, how did you make that decision to come and kick it at the old Improv Boston? And they'll tell you, like, well, you know, I want to get more comfortable with, you know, this or that, or I don't know, man. You just gotta respect. To me, you just gotta respect people like that who are letting it all hang out on stage like that, under the bright lights, and cooking under the bright lights, so to speak, because they're hot, but cooking in you know, another way, they're cooking because they got something going. You have this cool idea of something to bring to a scene that might make it interesting, and then somebody else comes in and they build off of it, and with that, they you know, it all comes together, and you have this really interesting thing, and hopefully something funny comes out of it, and you push it out there in front of the audience. People get it. People laugh, hopefully have a good time. But like I said earlier, it's always been about communication, because I think, to me, I don't know, maybe coming from a background of being like an only child and stuff, having like this really vivid kind of imagination, it's always been, you know, a struggle in terms of finding the means to communicate, not being so shy with things. And, you know, like when you're a little kid playing with your action figures or whatever, you kind of do the voices or you whatever, and it's a very solitary thing. But at the same time, in your head, a lot is going on. A lot is happening, you know. But I guess I always found it to be like a challenge, like a healthy challenge, and pushing myself into more, you know, social interaction and stuff. And I always wanted to, you know, you just feel like, you know, maybe there are some people who are kind of sitting in their basement and don't know a way to reach out to people. And so I'm kind of that guy, but I'm kind of that guy trying to make good, you know, in that, I mean, I've been doing, you know, for the most part, community media stuff for, you know, like 8 years or so. And that was the stuff I was doing when I was like in junior high school, and kids started getting heavy into drinking, heavy into drugs. You know, down the line, those are the kids who would get arrested or get themselves killed. And I was doing my thing in learning about television production and all that stuff. And not only that, it's not necessarily about, you know, the camera by itself is cold. It's not alive. You know, you can make it alive. You can make it lively, the way you make it, the way you compose your shots and stuff. But you know, the tech stuff, some people are heavy into that. I'm into it to the extent of, if I can learn how to use a certain tech thing, a certain piece of software, a certain camera and all that stuff, if I can learn that, and I can use that knowledge to be able to make something a little more interesting looking, you know, or better communicate what I want to say, or just kind of make it pop a little more, make it pop. If I can do that, then it's valuable to me. But the tech stuff by itself isn't the most interesting thing. You know, you'll hear guys who are like really into stuff like, oh man, this is going to be great because, you know, in 5 years we'll be able to have this and that, and, you know, they get the whole gimmick now, like in the movie theaters, 3D movies. Well, hey man, if your movie sucks, you put it in 3D, your movie still sucks. You know, but I understand that too. I understand that a lot of folks are not into media in the way that I'm into media, the way I see the potential of media. Like I always think of it as this like cool DIY thing, because coming from the whole background of cable access, I discovered it, and it's like this great thing. You know, for like very little money, come in and like learn about the technology is getting so great now. It's you know, we're coming along in terms of what cable access can do. You know, and now with the whole media convergence thing, we're like more on the level, I would say, with like the networks and stuff. But I utilize it for both things like you would think of. I mean, I utilize it simply a communication medium, get your stuff out into the community, get people to see it, you know, and you know, talk about what's up with you, like in a forum like this, which most people don't do. Most people are too scared to do. They don't have the guts to do it. They're not confident enough, or they feel like they have to fit into some sort of mold. But as you go and you see these shows that are very similar to each other in how they're done and the types of people that are there, you realize, wait, I might have something. You know, it's same thing with performance-y stuff. I always knew in my head I had something to bring to the table. It's just about having the guts to step over that line, you know. You know, they say like the line in the sand. Well, it's the line in the sand. You cannot go any further, or if you're going to advance, you must cross that line in the sand. Well, sometimes you find those lines are you're the one who's drawn those lines. You said I can't do that. No way. So, but I always knew in my heart of hearts that I could, you know, that I could contend in the bigger picture in terms of whether it's the show busy stuff or the tech stuff, and so. It's for me, like getting back to what I was talking about earlier. I know I'm jumping around a lot, but that's the nature of this show for me. Getting back to the whole being, you know, shy and trying to tap into the communicating thing. I was always drawn to writing and that sort of stuff, and that's like a solitary thing. You can't really. You can get ideas from people and stuff, but in terms of writing, to see your own, you know, vision through, whether it's journal stuff or a script or whatever, you know, it's really a solitary thing. You sit down and you do it, or you don't do it. So, but I was always early on, like, you know, 5th grade, whatever. I was really first drawn to poetry because you're playing with language. I was brought up in a household where everybody had a pretty good vocab going on. So, and I was taught that, like, this is a valuable thing, you know. So my mom was really into writing and stuff, and so I got into the poetry thing because it's like you're fascinated with language, but, you can play with abstract thoughts here. You can take something that's an abstract thought by itself and then stack it onto a bunch of other abstract things, sentence fragments or whatever they might be, and together it builds this sort of greater idea. And so that goes along with the same thing with improv. You know, different folks coming together, taking their own individual ideas, dumping them together and building this one big thing. And then in a literal sense with improv, you're on a stage, and you've got your audience who you create, do your genius thing, and, you know, they react. So that type of a thing where it's like a solo thing, like here, I'm alone in the studio here, you know, it's like a way to kind of get around the whole solitary self-confinement thing, the solipsistic point of view maybe, to get around that also and be able to communicate with a bunch of people at one time. You know, so with something like being on stage, it's, you know, you're telling your story, and that's pretty much it, for me anyway. You know, you want to get a rise out of people, you want to entertain people to a certain degree, I'd say, but not all the time, you know. Sometimes it's just waxing poetic on, you know, whatever, and, you know, for me it's like, okay, I've said this, I have canonized this point of view, but, you know, in your head, when you haven't, you know, said anything, created, you know, words coming out of your mouth, the whole verbal thing. When you haven't done that, thoughts in your head are still fragmented. When you speak, you're creating, you know, something more tangible, I guess you would say. So you know, in basic terms, like something like being on stage is like, I may not be privy to going up to everybody in the audience and telling that same story or whatever I tell, you know, individually. But if I can get on stage and I can say it one time and we can get a bunch of people going, are we done? Then, you know, that's a great thing. That's an easy thing to do, easy as pie to get that out there. And so I enjoy that. And fortunately, especially in this country too, we get a big old industry that nurtures that. And to me, think of it, if you think of, I always try to think of it like in terms of like a band. Like when you see like a band who's just rocking and they're like really intense, and not only that, but you listen, you can hear the lyrics, and you realize it's something that's meaningful to that band, and you just see that sweat like dripping from them, and you're like, holy geez, look at that. Like, yeah, they're providing an escape for you maybe from your daily life or whatever it is, and oh, it's just a fun thing, escapism and all that stuff. There's that way to look at it. But just like imagine all that sweat that they drip on, you know, stages all over or wherever they play, and just that level of intensity. Like, that's so real to me, and that's what I equate like improv with, stuff on stage when you're collaborating with different people and you're just giving your guts. You know, that's what being an artist is all about, I guess. A true artist, anybody can just sit and like paint a sunset, but when you're really pouring yourself into it, and there's some meaning behind what you're saying, there's some commentary as far as like the greater social context, you know, then that's when it gets to be real to me. Like, I know there are, you know, professions, man, like the folks who go in and like they lay brick literally every day, and there's a lot of folks who risk their lives all the time, and who also do stuff that we might consider you know, mundane or sort of whatever, you know, work, who you know, literally sometimes literally, you know, like who lay the foundation of the places we go and the things we do. And so yeah, of course, in some sense, you know, the whole artist thing is somewhat of a luxury. But I think, to me, what I kind of I came to this conclusion that you know, being an artist, it's just this label we throw on stuff. You know, before you're a painter or whatever, you know, you're a guy who has these, or a guy or a gal who has, you know, this fire in you, this inspiration, this drive somehow to put something down on a piece of paper, or, you know, sometimes it's just people have that thing, you know. You know, they're not mentally ill, they're experimental. They're experimentally ill, if you will. That's what we called our film festival, if you're following, if you know us, experimentally ill. But you know, they just have something in them that sometimes somebody just collides with one thing and boom, some magic comes out of it. You know, the guy had the thing in him. If it wasn't a guitar, it would have been a paintbrush or something, you know. And so, to me, man, I just think it's just intense. It's just there's real value in that kind of stuff. And something like improv or being in a band, I'm trying to think of like something where it's like a group of people working on stuff. Like our little clique here, we got you know, working on cable access stuff and independent film stuff. It's just something when you have other folks and you kind of bounce ideas off it, you're like, wow, I'm not crazy. You know, this is like a good idea, and you just get like this drive going, this just like pushing on through. So that's kind of my deal. That's what I really relate to, and I really get it. And then when that's not going on at that moment, it's kind of just me bombing around with, you know, with my thoughts and you know, feelings and making connections. That's really what the whole thing is in terms of speech or writing. Okay. Or television production, whatever it is, doing stuff like this. It's like you have these fragmented thoughts and you start making connections with them. And when you start making true connections and forming this big thing, it's like, you know, there's a moral in it somewhere. So, but when it's just me kicking it, I do find value in mundane stuff. Like, hey man, I'm going to getting a slice of pizza and you know, a soda, whatever. But I'm just by myself, and this is cool. I'm gonna write some stuff down and just chill out. Like, I value that, sure. I love that stuff. Those little moments to snack on. You know, and just hopefully in those moments you meet cool people still. You meet folks who respect each other and who don't invade other people's spaces. Don't kick their doors in when they're trying to read a book, because the door could hit them in the face. You know, like my relatives do that sometimes. Okay. You know, we don't get to pick our families, but we get to pick our friends. So it's cool to go out with your friends, cool to hang with your friends. What I always try to do is try to get people to come and collaborate. And so I got some messages, some emails and stuff on the old internet. Like I said, you can check me out on mikeotoole.net and email me at mikeovideo@gmail.com. But, you know, I got some messages that were like, hey, you're going to do some more of your show, some more episodes? And we've got a whole bunch of episodes coming down the pike. But thanks for checking out, you know, this one. I really think, you know, in the spirit of collaboration, man, I mentioned that it's like a DIY thing, cable access, and I know connotation is everything, but I do equate it to punk rock, because like Joe Strummer, he always like sang in these songs. I always talked about like radio broadcasts and stuff, and like always had this idea that he was one guy, but somewhere somehow his thing would reach, you know, a bunch of people just sitting there with the radio on or whatever, and that's kind of what I feel like with a show like this and all of our stuff. And it doesn't come from a place of ego. It comes from a place of, you know, embracing the media that we have at our disposal. So, you watch a lot of TV. Come down and make some TV. That's what I plead to you. And with that, I leave you. And thanks for checking out the show. Unless I have more time. If I have more time.